How is everybody doing? It is Paul from Magpie 24/7, and do you remember back at the beginning of the week when I said I was in a good mood, and for a Monday I had such a smile and positivity about everything, a spring in my step? Well, last night, and if you've heard the podcast since, which is on Magpie 24/7's Facebook page, it's on Spotify, etc. Yeah, that happiness was short-lived. The club, who rarely communicate, actually sent communication out to the supporters, and as a bit of a parting shot, a bit of a firing shot, a bit of a starter's gun, probably on legal action, about the takeover. So as soon as it comes up, club statement, I'm like, right, this doesn't happen very, very often. They don't talk to us about important issues, so it must be ultra important for them to get in touch. Read the statement, got in touch with Kyle. It's like, are you reading this? Are you taking this in? What the actual fuck is going on? Read it again, and at this point smoke is starting to come from my ears, because it's just disgusting. Just when you think the takeover stuff that's been put to bed, everything seems to be dying down. The fan base is more looking towards the new season, signings, being excited for the new signings. Then the takeover rears its ugly head, and no surprise that they waited until after the media day had finished before releasing the statement, because it's a very unusual time to release a statement at that time, of proceedings in the day. Basically, the Premier League have said no to the takeover. They formally turned the takeover down, which obviously suggests that behind the scenes people have been coming back to the table after the previous statements by the Saudi PIF. And to do so in a way that is subjective rather than objective goes against everything on the owners and directors test. And I was literally gobsmacked. And the language that Newcastle have used, bearing in mind we are one of the 20 stakeholders of the Premier League, yet as one of those 20 stakeholders we're basically calling out the Premier League and saying it's not right, it's not correct, it's not proper what has gone on. And furthermore, it doesn't even just stop at the Premier League. It personally names the hide and seek champion of the UK, Richard Cockmaster, as chief protagonist is in this entire thing. It continues that both the selling and buying parties are 100% committed to the cause. They want it to go through, but the fly in the ointment is the Premier League and Richard Masters, the people who couldn't even keep a cat from coming through a fucking cat flap. It seems they're that inept. And to be fair, if you're one of the members of the Premier League, you're looking at Cockmaster and you're thinking to yourself, since you've come in and replaced Scudamore, there's been nothing but a shitstorm at the Premier League since then. You know, you talk about TV deals abroad, you talk about the Newcastle takeover, on and on and on, and it just looks awful. It looks terrible. You know, you say that there's no way that you can release stuff, but things get released as journalists are putting stories out. Richard Key seems to be in the know. Why is he in the know? It's because he's a friend, and it all seems very, very murky, very, very shady, very, very dodgy. And you know, it brings the takeover back to the forefront, and you know, it is going to rumble on. It is going to go to court. Newcastle have said all options remain open on the table, and I honestly hope that after they've sought legal advice to the Premier League, they realise what trouble they could be in, because they could be sued for hundreds of millions of pounds. And according to an article that went out last night in the Mail, Mike Ashley and his legal team, who have got a reputation for being a particularly nasty bunch of cunts, they've got a strong watertight case, and you know that he's going to be going looking for the jugular, looking for compensation, looking to rattle a few cages. And I think it's in the Premier League's interest to come back to the table and very quickly relook at this, because do they want, and make no doubts about it, Mike Ashley's legal team will make sure for a certain fact that all of the dirty laundry that goes on in the Premier League is out there, regardless to whether it's for the case or not. They will want to cause a shitstorm, and they will chuck as much shit at the Premier League, hoping as much of it sticks as possible. So it's a huge deal now for the Premier League, who are already struggling with regards to finances with the deals that they've lost. They've got pressure from the clubs to, you know, sort that shortfall out. You've got pressure from the likes of Sky, who have got rebates that are due back. You've got pressure from fans groups, and you know, every which way you go. I mean, when they spoke to the NUFC, what have they done there? What have they said in that half an hour, 34 minutes or whatever it was? We only obviously heard a very small snippet of that. But what was the meat on the bones? Have they lied to them? Have they misled them? Has information been withheld from that process? Who knows what's going to come out? But believe me, Ashley's lawyers, as well as the Saudi lawyers and everybody else, will be all over it. So whether this goes to the High Court, whether this goes to the Court of Arbitration for Sport, who knows? But it has the potential to stretch out over the longer term, and this probably suggests why Ashley is protecting the asset. He needs to keep them in the Premier League for the time being, until such time as he can come up with a way forward, a roadmap, if you will, to be able to get round this latest obstacle that the Premier League have come up with. But if they don't work towards getting that sorted, then, like you say, it could go to the Court of Arbitration for Sport. They can approve it, and then they will have to put the deal through regardless. So, you know, you're risking your PR. And you think of all the sponsorships and the deals that they've got with companies. They don't want to be associated, like Coca-Cola, Budweiser, Nissan and all this sort of thing. They don't want to be associated with a toxic brand. And the Premier League is fast coming a toxic brand, a la FIFA, a la UEFA. You know, we know what goes on in these corrupt organisations. It's nothing new. It's just that more and more of it's coming out. And as you scratch a little bit, it makes a bigger mess. And you scratch and you dig and you claw for more information. And every time you strip down a layer, you find a bigger issue, a bigger problem, bigger corruption, bigger friends of friends doing things for mates. And I'm sorry, for an organisation who's tried previously to come over as whiter than white and try the you know, to promote themselves and market themselves in such a way, it's absolutely disgusting. And for once, and I never thought I'd hear myself say this, but I actually 100% agree with Mike Ashley. And you know, you should know that there's an issue and a problem with the Newcastle fans aside and with Mike Ashley. He wants to sell. He's got willing buyers. They have provided copious amounts of proof after proof after proof from the highest authorities in that country, akin to getting a, you know, proof of Boris Johnson say in this country, or Donald Trump in America, etc, etc. So they've gone to the highest authorities, they've got the proof that they wanted, and still they're not doing it. Now, if it was objective, it would be right. Letter from the you know, the ruling family, letter from the ruling you know, the rulers of that country. Tick, right, yeah, done, that's sorted, can't argue that. But because they're being subjective, they're taking their own personal opinions, their personal viewpoints. And of course the Premier League come out last night and do the old world famous no comment, we're not commenting on that. No, why isn't that? Because you're supposed to be there for the fans. So for the fans of Newcastle, what are you doing here? That would be absolutely nothing, because you know Premier League, that you have royally fucked up, well and truly fucked up on this one. It is just unbelievable. And let me state, if this was Manchester United getting taken over, if this was Spurs, Liverpool, Chelsea, Arsenal, if this was Manchester City, and I'm going to get on Manchester City separately actually shortly, but if this was any of them clubs, they would have been waved in with the red carpet. Thank you for your investment. Oh, thank you. You're going to buy some of the world's best players and bring them to the Premier League, which is going to make it better for us to market. Brilliant. Wonderful. I hope you have a successful era at Club X, Y or Z, one of the established top 6. But because it's Newcastle, and because we're a member of the other 14, it is also convenient just to shit on us from a great fucking height. I mean, the irony of the situation that Manchester City, in very similar circumstances, with the woman who sorted that takeover out, also doing ours, yet ours is turned down when it's a similar setup, a similar structure how that deal was done. Ours gets turned down, theirs gets approved, and it reeks of hypocrisy. It reeks of double standards. Because if you think that Amanda Staveley, after she successfully helped to broker that Manchester City sale deal, and has done exactly the same this time around, yet it's not, why is there a difference? There shouldn't be a difference. The only difference is the man and the men, because it's not just Cockmaster. You've also got to look at the Hoffman and the likes of those low-life pieces of shit at the top of the Premier League, FA, etc, etc, etc. You know, and this is why a confidential process, and he hides behind that all the time. I can't comment because it's a confidential process, but you can comment and leak stuff out to the press just before you speak about stuff. You can, as I said before, you can release stuff to, you know, in little tiny bits here and there to your mate Richard Keys. Good man, good man, good man. There he hands, bastard. There he hands. Really, is he a good man, or is he as corrupt and bent and pathetic as you hairy-handed fucking bastard over in Qatar? Unbelievable, the double standards. Newcastle fans have been let down by the Premier League, and it's disgusting. At the end of the day, you know, regardless to what I think or you think about what happens in their country, they wanted to buy Newcastle. Ashley wanted to sell. For the first time in, what, 13 years, we had a realistic chance of getting rid of Mike Ashley, and we've got a realistic chance. But the fly in the ointment is this corrupt, bent organisation who shouldn't have a dog in the fight. Who is it for them to say who can and can't buy our club? At the end of the day, Mike Ashley is technically the legal owner. We all know that he's just a custodian of the club. But if he wants to sell it to somebody and somebody else wants to buy it, it's like me selling the house, and then somebody, I don't know, from Leeds coming up. I don't want him to sell that house. Oh, well, I'm sorry, Flower, but stick your nose out of the fucking business before it gets rearranged. And that's what needs to happen in this instance. The Premier League's nose needs to be rearranged, and rearranged very, very quickly. So I urge everybody to keep going on and starting the absolute spamming like hell of the Premier League, contacting all of their sponsors, making it as awkward and difficult, and keeping the news and the spotlight totally on this absolutely farcical situation at Newcastle, which is developing. This shitstorm 2.0. We've got to keep the pressure up. We need a change of ownership. We deserve a change of ownership. Now, Mike Ashley took the squad out last night, and during that, it was obviously partly for team building, partly to explain what the situation is, and to wish them well for the season. So that's been done, and basically just to tell them, look, don't let this takeover stuff cause a distraction. Go out there, do what you need to do, and I will do what I need to do to sort this issue out. And there's no doubt the comment in the statement about all options open and about what we can and can't expect, it is a prod to the Premier League, a final prod to say, look, get your shit together, liaise, talk to us, the actual people who it actually concerns from a business sense. Get it sorted, or nothing's off the table. And you know what that means. You mean huge legal bills. You mean literally every cupboard door getting opened, examined, scrutinised, and shit slung left, right and centre. They can't afford that. This is a perfect opportunity for the Premier League behind closed doors to come back to those involved in the process and sort this fucking mess out. Because the people who suffer are the same people who suffer all of the fucking time, and this wouldn't happen to any other club but Newcastle. We seem to get shafted by the authorities all the time, and then you wonder why we were officially at first weren't on any of the Premier League choices for the matches and stuff, because they're all pissing in the same dirty little pot. Sky are in on it, every fucker's in on it. Everybody takes pot shots at Newcastle fans, and I'm absolutely disgusted in it. We don't deserve it at all. We have to suffer all of the time, and these double standards are just fucking pathetic. So from starting the week, because normally your mood gets better as the week goes on, as you're getting towards the weekend and a bit of time off with the family, but no, really annoyed today. That really angered me. What's gone on and what's going on, and the last to find out all of the time is you, me and the rest of the tens and hundreds and thousands and millions of supporters around the world. But we don't matter, do we? We don't matter, because it's not Chelsea, because it's not Arsenal, because it's not Spurs or Liverpool or anybody else like that. Let's not upset the apple cart. Let's keep the establishment, eh? Well, some of them clubs as well need to remember, if it wasn't for Abramovich coming along, Chelsea were a mid-table side. If it wasn't for all the Abu Dhabi lot, Manchester City, where were they? They'd be bumming it around with the likes of Sunderland. So, you know what I mean? Those who are up there and in the top six and are quite happy with how things are going at the moment just need to remind themselves about putting a stop on situations like this. Because if it wasn't for situations like this, your clubs wouldn't have been anywhere near. And don't give me any shit about out else that without the likes of Roman Abramovich, Chelsea would be fuck all. I remember Chelsea before Roman Abramovich came, and I remember them as a bit of a soft touch. So don't give me any old shit like that. Anyway, this story will develop, it will rumble on. There are journalists going to be all over this, and obviously many of them have got their own backs and their own agendas and this, that and the other. But no doubt more news will come on, more meat on the bones will come along. So we'll continue to bring you it. And then we look towards the West Ham game. We concentrate on that, and we try and concentrate on a bit of football and the fact that Newcastle have had a pretty successful transfer window. Mike Ashley has at least signed off on the deals that we've got and promised that if some deadwood's moved, and some deadwood looks like it is moving, then we can supplement the squad a little bit more, and that has to be what is most important in the short term. We've got a major game this weekend, West Ham. We've got to try and pick up points in this one early doors. I know it is, but it's one of them ones we have to target to be able to be safe and stuff like that, because there's no doubt at every opportunity everybody is going to be taking a dick shot at Newcastle this year. So let's get everything in the bag as early as possible and look up the table, and meanwhile we'll let Mike Ashley and the Saudis and everybody else with their legal teams fight it out. Hopefully common sense prevails, but in the world of football we've seen it with FIFA giving World Cups to Qatar and the likes and moving them from summer to winter just to accommodate them. Common sense doesn't come into it. It's all about mates, it's all about money, and it's all about backhanders and all of this dirty fucking shite. Anyway, hope you are all okay apart from this fucking shit shower that we continuously are in. Take care, keep it tuned, and I will speak to you later.